Get to know the current political issues, the real stories behind the headlines. Get interactive. My Politics with Art Barin, only here on My TV Cebu.
Good evening, my dear televiewers. Once again, welcome to our weekly show, My Politics. This is your host, Art Barin. This evening, our guest is our Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture, Attorney Salvador Diputado. And we'll discuss and talk about food security in the region, considering that food security is also a political issue. My dear televiewers, let's welcome our guest this evening, Attorney Salvador Diputado, our Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture. Director Diputado, good evening and welcome to our show. Thanks for being with us as our guest this evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening to all our televiewers. Good evening to all our friends. And welcome to our show. I hope we can enlighten everyone in this program tonight.
Okay, Director, let's go straight to our topic. Now, what is the preparation? Actually, El Nino is forthcoming, whether we like it or not. And of course, our farmers also is having this kind of preparation. Likewise, the local government units in the country or in the province and cities of Cebu. Okay, so as far as your agency is concerned, what is the preparation nowadays?
Basically, our preparation for El Nino is focused on monitoring and provisions for cloud seeding.
Okay.
But the provision for cloud seeding is limited only to some provinces which are geographically ideal for cloud seeding. For example, in the province of Cebu, because of its shape, geographical shape, it is very difficult to conduct cloud seeding operations, unlike in the province of Bohol, which is ideal for cloud seeding because of its shape. Nevertheless, we are constantly upgrading our instruments to more or less predict the occurrence of El Nino, and at the same time, we are promoting the production of climate-resilient crops that should allow our farmers to tide them over when there is a decreased supply of rainwater.
Okay. Yeah, Director Diputado, when it comes to climate-resilient crops, no? But the preparation or the changing of the crops, introducing it to the farmers, do they undergo seminar or some consultation as far as the agency or the DA is concerned? Yes,
of course. We do training, we do workshops. This is part of the preparation. This is already part of the schedule of the department because every year we undergo the El Nino phenomenon. It's actually, we don't call that a phenomenon anymore because it is happening almost every year.
It's a regular occurrence.
Yes, it's not a phenomenon anymore. That's why we are always including activities that are designed to help our farmers cope during times when there is less rainwater.
I see. Do we give and do we distribute some farm implements, Director Diputado, to our farmers or to the marginalized farmers?
Yes, there is also a provision in our program that allows the department to extend assistance to our farmers, especially those who are already accredited by the department. These are the farmers group which have been identified previously to make them suitable for any assistance from the department in terms of farm machineries,
I see.
seedlings, even fertilizers.
So we have a lot of accredited farming non-governmental organization.
Yes.
I see.
In fact, part of the rice tariffication law, we are constantly undergoing accreditations of farmers, cooperatives, and association,
I see.
which would benefit them in terms of actual financial assistance for the rice competitiveness enhancement fund.
I see. I see. Now, I'm interested also, Director Diputado, when it comes to after the farmers or the program as part of the post-harvest facility. I mean, with the farmers. Now, because sometimes when you are a marginalized farmer, you are always at the mercy of the middlemen in the public market. So they'll say, okay, I have this kind of products, and then they'll just say, oh, you cannot sell that as much as that price because there are a lot of other products coming from other provinces. So, but since the farmer could no longer transfer or collect and have it stored in their farm, their produce or their newly harvested product, so that's a problem. So they are always at the mercy of the middlemen. So do you have some programs on post-harvest facilities, especially in our mountain barangays?
Yes, we have, because right now we recognize the problem being experienced by farmers when it comes to capitalization. There is a problem on the area of capitalization because usually farmers get their capital from 5-6 lenders.
Okay.
And regardless of the amount they spend in the farm and the money they put in producing food, at the end of the day, during harvest time, they end up owing a lot from the capitalista. That's why there are loan packages from the Department of Agriculture which allow the farmers to avail themselves
I see.
of capital that they can use to seed capital for high-yielding variety of seeds, for fertilizer, as well as other expenses for farm preparation, which would divorce them from the mercy of the lenders.
Okay.
This is one way of giving them freedom from the clutches of the lenders who usually dictate the prices of palay. By giving them financial capability, the farmers can now choose where and when to sell. And then there is also a provision in the law, under the rice tariffication law, which gives the NFA the exclusive right to buy all the produce of the farmers during harvest time.
I see.
Because during harvest time, there is no importation of rice that is allowed.
That is part, or that is included in the law.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Director Diputado, there was a sort of a directive, or it's not a directive, but it's part of the administrative order, I think, of the department for the conversion of agricultural lands into other local purposes. Okay, but if I am a farmer, the farm inputs and implements are so expensive. So, well, there is this moratorium of non-conversion of agricultural lands. But then, somebody is telling me, oh, your 5 hectares rice field, can we convert that into a simple subdivision, something like that? But here comes the Department of Agriculture because of that administrative order for the non-conversion. But how could we, the department could no longer, or he is no longer tilling the lands because farm inputs and implements, as I've said, is so expensive.
Yeah, that's
so what can we do about this?
Yeah, that is true. The cost of production in the Philippines is very high. This is basically the reason why our farmers cannot compete with our ASEAN neighbors. In the Philippines, the cost of production is placed at 12 pesos per kilo.
Wow.
In order to produce 1 kilo of rice, we spend 12 pesos.
Okay.
Whereas in Vietnam, for example, they only spend 6 pesos.
Half. Okay.
Almost, yeah, half. This means that everything that we put into rice farming in the Philippines is factored in. And right now, under the Duterte administration, this cost of production is being addressed. For example, there is now a provision under the irrigation law which says that irrigation should be free. This is a deduction from the cost of production. Now there are also allowable loan packages from the Department of Agriculture, which also provides empowerment to farmers. And this capitalization is now streamlined such that farmers can now easily avail themselves of the program without going through a lot of hassles as they did before.
Okay. How about the buying price of the NFA, Director Diputado, considering that if we're going to factor in the production cost in order to have a somewhat like a win-win solution for the marginalized farmer?
Yes, that is also factored in. There is a price that is set by the Department of Agriculture, which is being implemented by the National Food Authority when it comes to the price of buying palay from the farmers.
Okay.
The price that is set by the NFA is made in such a way that the farmers will not be at a losing end. That is being made sure in the law, which ensures that during harvest time, it is only the NFA which can buy. Of course, LGUs can now also participate. No, we have actively mobilized our collaboration with the LGU. For example, in the province of Bohol, there is now an allocation set aside by the province of Bohol to address this issue of buying the palay of farmers. So there is now an amount that is set aside to be used for buying the palay.
I see.
At a price that is not that is already set in such a way that it is not losing venture for the farmers.
For the farmers.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Director Diputado, I understand. And then for our televiewers, under the rice tariffication law, is it advantageous on the part of the marginalized farmers or not? We'll discuss this more about the discussion on the next episode of our program with Director Diputado after these reminders. Don't go away. Once again, welcome to our weekly show, My Politics. This is your host, Art Barrett. Our guest this evening is our Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture, Director Salvador Diputado. Director Diputado, one of the issues as far as agriculture is concerned is water. Okay. What are interventions or programs that your agency is taking into consideration?
That is a very good question, actually. Right now, we have come into a memorandum of agreement with several high learning institutions in Cebu, as well as in Bohol.
I see.
For the three-wardship agreement. Under this agreement, all graduating students are required to plant a tree.
I see.
As condition for graduation.
How many plantable trees?
At the initial stage, we are still deciding on the exact number, but it should be not less than 2.
I see. Mm-hmm.
The graduating student will provide initially the seedlings for planting.
Mm-hmm.
The holes for the holes will be prepared by all the cadets of the school, and then all these trees will be planted in areas that are identified as watershed areas
I see.
or potential watershed sites.
Mm-hmm.
This program is actually an answer to our problem of water, because many times, for a long time now, our watershed areas are being neglected, and this is the reason why we are now having water problem. We are now we are now suffering from saltwater intrusion. That's why we cannot drill anymore, because the water that comes out from the ground is already salty. That's why we are going to introduce this program again, where every student is required to plant a tree, and then in the place where the trees are planted, the local government unit concerned will be obligated to care for the tree even for a period of 1 year only.
I see.
So this agreement will be entered into between the Department of Agriculture and the higher learning institution. For example, we already have signed an agreement with the University of Cebu. According to Attorney Agosto Go of the University of Cebu, there are 60,000 students of that school. Even if we will just factor in 10% of that number, that translates to 6,000 mango trees per semester, or 12,000 mango trees every year.
When is the activity to be, for the planting activity on this program, Director Diputado? Considering that graduation is a dry season already.
Yes, actually the MOA we had with UC was signed last year.
I see.
Which means that in that span of time, UC has already implemented. In fact, I plan to once again meet the top UC officials so we can again discuss any improvements to the agreement that we have already made. And
who will identify the watershed area?
Yes. And at the same time, we are having ongoing talks with officials of higher institution learning in the city of Cebu, so that they can also be invited to join in the program, because this is not just the concern of the students, this is not just the concern of the DA, but this is the concern of
everybody.
Everybody.
Okay. Now, with that noble implementation of the project, do you include also the DENR, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources?
Yes, we are including the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the Philippine Coconut Authority.
I see.
Because there are areas which are appropriate for coconuts. So we have already initial talks with the DENR, Regional Director Paquito Milicor, including the Regional Director of PCA, Director Jun Lago, with respect to the program, and they told me that they are really very, very interested to be part of the program.
Okay, good.
We have also signed an agreement with the president of the Bohol Island State University, Dr. Pubar, as well as the owner and chairman of the board of the BIT International College in Bohol, which is Attorney Junicio Balite, also for this program. So we will be expanding this program not only in Cebu, in Bohol, but also in Negros Oriental and in Siquijor.
Okay. Director Diputado, your agency is also taking care of the forestry program or forestry issue.
Yes.
No, not forestry, fishery issue.
Yes.
Now, considering that, I think BIPAR is one of the attached agency of the DA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what are also the interventions of the agro-fishery programs of the department?
Actually, there are many, no? Aside from strictly implementing the close period,
Mm-hmm.
where the fishermen are prevented or are stopped
Mm-hmm.
from fishing during the close period in order to allow the fish to fertilize, lay their eggs, and grow again.
Mm-hmm.
There are also other
You just
measures.
lifted the fishing ban.
Yes.
Yeah, in Central Visayas or in Cebu province alone.
In
That was-
Central Visayas.
In Central Visayas.
Yes. And then there are also other measures like inland fishing,
Mm-hmm.
where inland farming is developed or encouraged by urging farmers to raise tilapia and other indigenous fishes.
Mm-hmm.
This allows the fishermen to rest for a while in gathering fish from the sea,
I see.
and then turn themselves to fishing from inland fisheries. These are hatcheries that are located inland. And this will give time for the fishes in the sea to breed again. And aside from that, the BFAR is actually into giving assistance to fisher folks in terms of motorized
Bangka.
bangka, fish nets, cold storage facilities,
I see.
fish sports, and these are intended to empower the fishermen to not only produce more, but also at the same time protect the habitat of fishes.
Okay. You have the agro-fishery and agro-fishery sector, and of course, this in terms of food security as
Yes,
a
sir.
whole.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the preparation also with the implementation of the program on agroforestry in coordination with the local government unit.
Yes, sir. In fact, we also have just signed a tripartite agreement, sir. This is also about food security. We also have signed a tripartite agreement with the DepEd, the Department of Education, and the Department of Interior and Local Government for the reinstitution of the Gulayan ng Paaralan with entrepreneurship.
I see.
This program involves all public elementary and high school students. In this program, it is envisioned that all elementary students will be reintroduced into school gardening. This time around, the parents can also get themselves involved through the PTA. The earnings, the harvest from the school gardening program will be bought by the local government units where they are located, and the savings out of this program will be distributed to the student during graduation, so that the pupil can realize that there is indeed money in
farming,
agriculture.
in agriculture.
Yes.
Attorney Diputado, for one, I'm a product of a public school.
Yes, sir.
So, in my elementary days, in elementary years, I was introduced into gardening. We have a subject or part of our program. But nowadays, a lot of public schools, their open spaces or their extra open space are already converted as a basketball court, they have a gymnasium. So, you can hardly see and find a public school with a lot of space for gardening. So, what are we going to introduce in public school in the city? So, an urban gardening, just put that pot with tomato in hanging in your area or hanging in your room, something like that.
Yes, sir. Actually, there is a program introduced by the Bureau of Plant Industry which is called vertical gardening, which is appropriate for urban gardening.
I see.
You
That's
don't
good.
need a space of land.
I see.
all you can utilize are plastics. Plastic container, for example. When you are gone, when you are through drinking water from a plastic bottle, that plastic bottle can be converted into two sides, where each side will be planted with vegetables.
Okay. Do you agree, Director Diputado, that if we have going to implement that, that is one way of decongesting our wet market or public markets?
Yes, actually, that is very beneficial, no? We will be eating fresh and very nutritious vegetables.
Correct.
We will also there's also a learning on the part of the students that there is money. And then we can also reinstitute the value of making money out of school gardening, because
Correct.
many parents are now thinking that agriculture is dirty. Agriculture is lowly. It is not something to be proud of. But with the gulayan ng paaralan, with entrepreneurship, we are telling them that it is not really lowly. There is so much to be proud of in food production. That's why we are getting involved, not only the students, but also the parents and the teachers. And then the DepEd can award the schools with the highest earning capacity. The DILG can also award the LGUs with the most earnings in a month or in a year.
Yeah.
And then this will be included in the Seal of Good Housekeeping program.
Exactly. So that's the problem now, Attorney Diputado, because farming is only for the old folks. The youth is no longer interested into farming. How to invite, how to involve the youth into farming? That's one of the issues now, and we'll discuss that more after these reminders. Don't go out. Once again, welcome to our weekly show, My Politics. This is your host, Art Barrett. Our guest this evening is our very own Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture, Attorney Salvador Diputado, our director here in the region. Attorney Diputado, yes, one of the problems also of our agricultural sector is the let's say, the youth is no longer interested in going into farming. So how are we going to invite, and how are we going to, for the youth to be involved in the farming sector?
This is precisely the point we want to address. The lack of interest on the part of the parents, as well as the lack of interest on the part of the children. That's why we are reintroducing the gulayan ng paaralan with entrepreneurship to make them realize that there is really money in food production. If you are a grade 1 student and at the end of the graduation you will receive 500 pesos or 600 pesos out of your gardening program, then you will realize that there is indeed money. And then when you will go to grade 2, and then that process is repeated in grade 3, in grade 4, in grade 5, in grade 6.
Okay.
That will become something like a very fertile idea for the student to develop the love for farming. Not only on the part of the pupil, but also on the part of the parents, because they will also realize that when the children are starting to earn money for themselves, they will also learn how to be responsible in using their money. And then they will also learn, the parents themselves can also learn to appreciate the love for farming. And at the same time, the parents, when the children will now go to high school, the same process is used. First year high school, second year, from grade 7 up to grade 12.
Is it not the same with the former program of the Marcos regime, the Green Revolution, something like that?
It's different
Yeah.
because there's no money involved in that program.
I see.
It was just like a compliance requirement.
I see.
Once you have planted, once you have grown your vegetables, then that's it. There is no putting of the heart
I see.
into the program. But this time around, it is not just a physical act of planting, but there is also a reintroduction of the issue of giving them the idea that when they grow a lot of vegetables, they will also earn money out of it.
I see.
And then the program will also involve introduction of greenhouses where the local government units can have their municipal nurseries.
I see.
Then the school will not have the need for fertilizer because they will have their own composting.
I see.
So they will be using the compost pit for fertilizer purposes. And then the idle lands, which you have just mentioned, can also be converted into plantable areas for vegetables.
I see.
So this is the point in time where we do not have to import vegetables, where we do not have to import onions, tomatoes, because we are growing them. This is now the time that our people, the community, will be having their own sources of vegetables. This is now the time that we can eat salad safely and nutritiously.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Director Diputado, a lot of our agri-products, especially vegetables, there are a lot also of chemicals in those vegetables. How do we minimize use of fertilizers and pesticides in the production of vegetable products?
This is where organic farming comes into play. No chemicals, no pesticides, no fertilizers. We can do that. We can make use of the composting
I see.
to provide fertilizer for the plants. We can use, we can do away with chemicals. For example, we can use a concoction out of hot pepper in order to be used as spray for the vegetables. We don't have to buy chemicals anymore.
I see.
Okay? And then we can also do away with pesticides by using other means. Like, for example, when I was still young, we used to have this orinula. That's where we put in our urine, and then our parents will use them to fertilize our plants. Maybe that was successful because our plants in the place where I was born, there was no end to fruits coming from that limoncito tree.
I see. Is Fertilizers and Pesticides Authority is still also under the DA?
Yes.
It's part of as an
Attached.
attached agency.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I'm very much interested, Director Diputado, because I'm a member of the United Nations Environment Program on Strategic Approach for International Chemical Management, SICHEM, in the region. I mean, in Asia-Pacific region. We have just recently had a meeting in Bonn, Germany, last December. And one of the issues that we tackled is about the growing commercialization of the chemicals or the pesticides. Okay? And it's a multi-billion business. And true to that, when you go to the mountain, to the countrysides, in the agricultural plants, or you visit a lot of agricultural farms in the countryside, there are a lot of, signages on chemicals. So that's one of the problems also.
Yeah. In fact, that is one problem that I wish to reveal in public. There are many vegetables that are being introduced as organic when they are not. Some
How
of
to
the-
distinguish? Okay, how to distinguish that, Director Diputado?
the color,
The color? Or is it
very
the
deep.
certification coming from an
Actually-
organic organization, something like that?
Yes, we have an organic program where we accredit organic farms. But the standard is very high, such that in a period of 5 years, there should be no trace of chemicals whatsoever. This means that in a period of 5 years, you should not use fertilizer or pesticides in your plants
I
now.
see.
There are so many vegetables that are marketed right now and presented to the public as organic when they are not.
I see.
Some of these vegetables are sprayed with pesticides usually at night, late evening or late afternoon. And then when they are presented in the market, these are very green, very big, very nice looking. But they're actually saturated with chemicals.
Why not night spraying activity, Director Diputado?
Because it will not dry up easily.
I see.
It will stay on the plant for a longer period of time
I
because
see.
there is no sun,
Sun.
that
So
will dry
that
up.
will be sprayed a week or something like before harvesting.
I really do not know when they're going to use this spray, but the point is they are not really practicing organic farming.
I see.
They are just deceiving the public. That's why I do not eat salad unless I know who is planting them.
I see.
Because many of the salad that are marketed are not really organic. They are not really safe because they are sprayed with chemicals.
And there are a lot also of consumers nowadays, Director Diputado, that when they go to the market, they'll buy those vegetables nga not guapa because they are not, of course, that's the one way of determining, of course, they don't have pesticides or chemicals on that because
is
the
true.
insects are there.
That is true. Between an eggplant with a rotten part and an eggplant with a very nice looking shape, nice looking form, I prefer to buy the eggplant with a rotten part because that is proof that it is not saturated with chemicals.
Exactly. Okay. Okay, Director. Now, okay, for the last part of our program, what is the update now of the ESF?
That is very good question. No? Up to this time, the province of Cebu and the whole Region 7 are still ASF free.
Wow.
And we wish to invite all our listeners, all our televiewers to let's make it, keep it that way, always, by cooperating with our local government units in strengthening our border against the intrusion of ASF and doing away with swill feed, which is just like bringing into the province of Cebu or any part of the region any pork process or pork byproducts from ASF identified areas.
I see.
For example, in Luzon,
Mm-hmm.
we should not bring into the province of Cebu or any part of the region any pork process or any pork byproducts from Luzon because this is one innocent way
I see.
of introducing the ASF virus into our region.
Okay, but we can still invite and we can still receive products from the neighboring provinces, except Luzon, because of your stringent policies or programs implemented.
Yes, there is an administrative order issued by the Department of Agriculture, which is Administrative Order number 12, which allows movement and trading in areas that are identified as
ASF
free,
free. Okay.
which is color-coded as dark green.
I see.
Those areas that are already infected and considered as hot zones are colored as red. So within the green areas, trading and movement of pork and pork by-processed products should be allowed.
I see.
And there is an administrative order issued by the President, Administrative Order number 22, enjoining all local government units to align all their ordinances and executive orders to the administrative order issued by the Department of Agriculture.
Okay. With that, Director Diputado, our pork in Cebu and elsewhere in the province is safe to eat.
Yes, because we have been into a strict implementation of border control and at the same time, continuous surveillance and monitoring of all our backyard racers.
I see.
Because 85% of our hog industry is dependent on our backyard racers. That's why we wish to invite all our friends to make it a habit to report to the local authorities any incidents of hog disease that is suspected of being similar to ASF or hog cholera.
I see.
And then we should avoid introducing into the province any pork process or pork byproducts from Luzon or that part of Mindanao which is already identified as.
Thank you very much, Director Diputado, and for being our guest and our program, our parting statement to our televiewers.
Thank you very much, sir, for allowing me to be a guest in your program. This is actually one of the directives of Secretary William Dar for us to be visible in the public and to tell everyone what we have been doing, what our plans. And again, I would like to encourage everyone to help us in our food production program and let us work together to prevent the entry of ASF into our region. Thank you very much and good evening.
Thank you, Director Diputado, our Regional Director of the Department of Agriculture. This is your host, Art Barit, manamilit na lang umuingon na samtang muhingos pang ilong sa tao. Iyang mga pangandoy tingos bawan way katapusan. Daghang salamat and good evening.